Namato Ratanatayasa. May I pay homage to Triple Gem, the Buddha, Dhamma, and the Sangha. My respect goes to my parents and my teachers. Hello, and good evening. So today is Friday, the 31st of July, 2020. So this is Achan Sujan from Varapunya Meditation Center. As usual, I'm here with you all, sharing some of the thoughts and some of the insights and some of my experiences. And thank you everyone for listening this online Facebook Dhamma talk. Since the lockdown, we have started this and still ongoing, and try to be online as regularly as possible. And so today is another day. So today center is very busy from the very early morning. Some of you may have known that we have a nun's ordination after the monk's ordination. And two nuns are staying at the center, practicing meditation and learning Dhammas and practicing. But mostly we spend time on eating, actually. Morning breakfast and immediately preparation for the food for the lunchtime. So we eat more. And yet, we do have times for the meditation. Early morning after the chanting, we do 1 hour meditation, in which they will also hear the talks. And in the morning before the lunch, 1 hour meditation. And in the afternoon, again, the studies of the Dhamma. And in the evening, again, a discussion after the meditation. So this has been quite busy, and particularly today we had visitors from Glasgow, Stirling. And again, after the lunch, they enjoy going out in Aberdeenshire and collecting the mushrooms, wild mushrooms. And after around 2 hours of going away from the center, they came back with half full baskets. And very happy to get their hands dirty with the what's called chanterelle or the mushrooms. Okay. So today is again the last day of this month, July. Basically, we are moving towards the darkness day and day. And day and night, the darkness is getting more and more. Last month, and the beginning of last month, I remember when I was doing a walking meditation, it's 11, half 11, still very light, and you can see around. But now, 10 o'clock, getting darker and more colder as well. Okay? So today, again, I will be talking in the same topic, in relation to this Four Noble Truths, and we have discussed on these Four Noble Truths quite a long time now. So yesterday I spoke on the right understanding, or the Samma Ditti, giving different aspects of a Samma Ditti in Buddhism. And today again I thought that I will again focus on that same topic, this Samma Ditti. And this Samma Ditti, when we say the English translation is right understanding, and here right understanding can be different to different race and different culture, different nation, and based on those ethnicities, and based on their nationalities, and they're based on their culture and even the religion. The understanding can be different. And this is basically based on how they are brought up and how they have this transmitted from the culture, race, and country or the religion, and that's become kind of their understanding. And when we talk about that understanding, sometimes that can be conflict to one another, and which is the main another reason why there are boundaries and differences between one another, simply based on their race, religion, culture, and countries. In Buddhism, this is known as the distorted views. So that's called Vippallasa. That's a distorted view. And distorted view in a way that you having had this understanding simply based on where you are, where you're born, or which race you are belong to, rather than the reality as the nature as they are. So it's like human rights, and human rights is common to everyone, and everyone understand it. But however, these human rights can be not accepted in some race or some culture or some tradition or some even the religion, and that's because they have their own faith and they have their own way of bringing up, and that's why they take it as their view or their understanding, and holding on to that can make troubles and conflict. But the human rights, the UN try to make it as common as possible, or as standard as possible, so that every religion or race and even the country can accept that concept of the human rights. So that's how Buddha's teachings is that right understanding should excel these distorted views, and it's not just for one particular group or one particular race or one particular religion, and that is the truth. Okay? Even sometimes I reflect that when I'm saying that the Buddha's teachings is right, and sometimes people say that this is not right. In that moment, I have to hold myself and think, okay, they are looking at from their eyes. It's like a horse is wearing a green glass. It doesn't matter how dry the grass is given, the horse will always see the green glass, like that. And I have to hold my breath and take their views and accept their understanding, and then respecting how they have understood. So in that way. And I have experienced a couple of times when I was visiting other religious centers, and during the conversation these views erupts, and in that moment I just simply accept their views and say, okay, that's enough, that's good enough, and it's what you understand, like that. Okay. When we look at these views, in Buddhism it's called Vippallasa, or the perversive or distorted view. It's simply because, number one, it's called Sannya Vipalasa, which means the memory or the perception is distorted. And that's how I understood, is that it's simply because we are brought up in that culture, in that system, or in the way we were educated, and that's how we take it as the truth, and that's how we took it. And as we grow up, and always these been imprinted in our brains, in our memories, and we take it as the truth. But sometimes if we are open enough, then that may not be the right one. So we need to be very careful with that. That is known as Sannya Vipalasa. Yeah? So that's the perception distorted view, or the perversion. And the second is known as the Chitta Vipallada, which is the thinking is not right, or the thoughts towards things or towards the situation or towards the people or nation is not right, and that's again based on basically how they had the perceptions of it. And the third again is known as the Dtv Pallada and Vippallasa, which is the distorted views on the things. And this is what we need to be very careful of, and the ability to be mindful whenever you are on a discussion that we have or I have this understanding when other people may not have the same understanding. Other people or one who is listening or in front of you who is talking or on discussions, they are speaking from their experience, they are speaking from their thoughts, they are speaking from their perceptions, what they have understood. So when you are giving new information, sometimes it's not easy to digest, and they will again sometimes want to be superiority against your thoughts, your understanding, your knowledge. So in those cases, then it's very difficult to take their views as the right or wrong. Right? Whereas in Buddhism, it's always open to you to discuss, to think about, or having a doubt. In this relationship, there is a story that at the time of the Buddha, when the Buddha was at his last moment of entering to the Parinibbana, the ascetic Subhadda comes to meet him and asking for the teachings. And then rather than the Buddha is going on talking about different views or different peoples, and Buddha simply taught him the Four Noble Truths and Eightfold Noble Path, and said that as long as people are practicing in accordance with the Eightfold Noble Path, then there will be arhats, noble ones. And then the Subhadda was so happy and took the ordination. After the Subhadda he took ordination, Buddha announced to all the monks, those who were present, saying that monks, if you have any doubts on the Dhamma Vinaya, which is the teachings, and the Vinaya, the rules that Buddha had laid down, it's a time to ask. Do not leave any doubts and do not leave any confusions that is you are having, and the Buddha never solved your doubts. So that much open the Buddha's teachings is, and Buddha always invited every one of us to come and investigate on the teachings. So there is even Buddha, one of the discourses, Buddha also said that the teachings of the Buddha will shine when it's come to the light. So that's why this has not been any problem with the scientists finding new discoveries on different topics and different subjects, whether it is the universe, whether it is cosmology, whether it is physics, whether it is metaphysics, neuroscience, and whatever. You can see that the Buddha's teachings become more and more relevant and make sense and in line with the scientific discoveries. And that's simply because of the purity the Buddha had given, and again it's open to all to question about it without any uncovered. Buddha didn't covered any secrecy of the teachings. He simply opened up everything and open to doubts and open to investigation. So that's what this right understanding is so important to have, that what is it and what is not. And doesn't mean that you are holding, let's say, the truth, and then you are simply holding on to that truth, that I know the truth, but the rest are not true. Then again, you are having this distorted view, so known as the Dtv Pallada. So even holding on to the teachings of the Buddha, that this is the great and the rest are known, is also count in this way too, and which we can relate to the life of the Buddha, particularly the Digha Nikaya, the long discourses. Most of the discourses we find that Buddha went on having a discussion with other people, other ascetics, other faith believers. And in that discussions, Buddha never say that you are wrong. Buddha always accepted their views and simply pointed that your view is taking to this end, but another way which you can practice, and if you practice that way, then that leads to the complete liberation. So in this way, Buddha was presenting his, the findings, the truth, or so known as the truth. And basically, that's the Four Noble Truths. Even about the right understanding, one of the discourses in Anguttara Nikaya, it was a discussion between the Buddha and the Venerable Kaccayana. So Venerable Kaccayana was one of the very great scholar who was very good at the languages. And then he went on asking to the Buddha that Buddha's teachings, everyone say is the right, right understanding, and everyone is talking about right understanding. What is it, the right understanding? And the Buddha replied, saying to Kaccayana that there are two types of understanding. Two types of understanding, and one is existential, or known as the eternalism, and another one is non-existence, and which is annihilationism. Right? And these two views are widely accepted and widely practiced. One is eternalism, that the view that people accept it as we are all exist, never to be end, and that is again is the view which led people to believe in some sort of a reunion with the ultimate God or Atmans during that time, and that's how it's become a concept of the eternalism, and people believe in a lot. And this is again based on the self, the existence of the self, and who and how I will be, where I will be after I die, and we need for comfort, need somewhere to stay or somewhere to exist. And that's simply because of having, according to Buddhism, is the attachment to the self existence, and that's how we always seek for the eternal existence, that where we will be exist at all the time. And this is one group of people, and another group of people having understanding that after death there is nothing. It's called non-existence or annihilism. During the time of the Buddha, it is known as the Charavak, or materialistic view. And these two views are not the right view according to the Buddha. And the Buddha, rejecting these two views, introduced the new view, and that is the middle path, avoiding these two understandings. And what is the middle path? In that discourse, the Buddha went on saying that the middle path here is basically having misunderstanding or ignorance brings the formation or creating new things, and then goes on with the this dependent origination, and that is the main root cause of coming back to the samsara and coming back to this world of distortion and perversive views, and then going around and around, reborn again and again in this samsara, the birth and the death. And in the meantime, the very moment when we have the right understanding of things, that very moment from avidya it comes to the vidya, or the knowledge, and with that knowing, the whole thing will be ceases to exist. With that ceasing, what happens is we will be able to understand that everything that is conditioned arises are subject to cease, and that's being the understanding of the Buddha's teachings. And this is, again, it's not belong to the Buddhist, it is not belongs to the any Indians or Nepalese or any Sri Lankans or Thais, or no one. It is universal truth that anything that is conditioned arises, that is subject to cease. Doesn't matter who, where, and how investigate on this, everyone will find the truth. So that's why I call it, it's like a human rights that the UN is promoting, which is something like the universal, try to be universalized, and that's the teachings of the Buddha is like that too. It's a universal that anyone can and investigate on that and will find the same truth. It's like you are boiling the water, it needs 100 degree. Doesn't matter where you boil it, whether it's in the Middle East or whether it's in the Himalayas, you always need the 100 degree to boil it, and this is the ultimate fact. So right understanding, that's why according to Buddha excels every racial thoughts or the ethnic understanding or religious beliefs, based on religious beliefs understanding, or how we have come through and how we have experienced it, and all we will be excelled those views, but having the understanding of the true reality. And what beauty here you can again investigate, which is known as yoni somanasikara, which I spoke yesterday, that when we investigate that wisely, we find that Buddha himself said, do not believe what he said, investigate again and again to find the truth, and only then take it as the right understanding. But ultimately, Buddha is talking about right understanding in a sense rather than the world, but about our own self. This is the 5 aggregates, knowing this 5 aggregate and knowing our own self, and that's called atta, knowing this atta or the self as impermanent, and this is subject to change and will not last for long. At the end of the day, it ceases. And as long as we have a greed, hatred and delusion, we still have to come back holding this atta in different forms, whether as a human or whether as a lower than a humans or even the heavens. We still have these aggregates to work on. But the very moment once we have fully understood and the greed, hatred and delusion been completely eradicated, and that moment, so the atta will not be atta anymore. So that will be the end of the process. So I offer this as today's reflection and a talk, and end here for tonight. In a few minutes time we will have a chanting and guided meditation. So take this time, may you all be happy, well, and stay safe, take care, free from all the troubles, and may the Buddha Dhamma Sangha bless you, and see you shortly. And thank you everyone for following. Thank you.